Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Audi A4 3.2 hard starting issue. So since my last significant success of a first video ever, I've learned a lot of things, especially through way of all the comments that flooded in. So 5 things I think that I kind of learned. One, which is I need more time lapse, I need to talk less, I need more louder and abrupt music, and surprisingly, nobody had mentioned anything about having any more wagon content. I don't know why that is, but we're going to make sure there's enough going around. So in this episode, what we're going to do is take the items that was on my wife's car that seems to have fixed the problem. It's been 3 weeks. It's been good. And then I'm going to take those items and install them into the wagon. So I'm going to show you guys real quick what items those are, and then we'll get into a time lapse, everyone's favorite. So here we go.
Hey guys, here are the parts that we're going to replace today. This is the busted up VVT solenoid that I pulled out from the garbage. I actually want to put this back in to rule it out as one of the causes to the hard starting issues. I have this as a backup. This is going in. I got a PCV valve. That's from the wife's car. Same with the lower intake runners with all the little actuators and stuff. And then I've got a number of injectors, as you'll notice. So I brought the 6 from my wife's car in originally to have them cleaned, flow tested, and then pressure tested before and after and all that stuff. And the guys at Turbo Parts Canada have been fantastic. They went through these with a fine-tooth comb. They updated me every step of the way. He actually took me through the shop for a quick little tour to show me exactly what was happening with 8 of them. And explained to me everything that was going on. So what he had found was that 2 injectors from my wife's car were leaking so severely that he'd never seen it that bad before. What would actually happen is just during his little pressure tests, that's significantly lower than what operating is for the motor. He would see droplets of fuel starting to pool at the underside here. So my theory on the hard starting issue is that 2 of the injectors, as they were essentially leaking, they're pooling fuel into the cylinder chamber on top of that piston. Some of it's making its way back down into the oil pan. That's why I get that smell of fuel in the oil. And then also, as the motor's cooling down, it's losing all the pressure from the rails through these 2 injectors into that cylinder chamber. And on a cold motor, that chamber will be filled with, not essentially filled, but there'd be enough fuel in there that when you're trying to start a motor, if it's got an imbalanced air to fuel ratio, it's not going to start properly or fire properly on at least 2 cylinders, causing that kind of shaky start until it cleared all that fuel out of that chamber. So that's my theory. I'm going to go ahead and install all these items and see if anything changes. So all these are good. If this wagon starts perfectly fine, the only variable that would have changed are the injectors, and I will be able to conclude that it's the injectors that were the cause of the hard starting issue. So anyways, let's get into a time lapse. Before we get into it too far, I want to show you just a quick little tool set there that I picked up from Amazon. It's an injector removal, install, and a seal installer kit. So it's highly recommended that you get it. You won't damage your injectors taking them out or putting them in. The removal tool is super simple. You need to remove your O-ring from the tip here. You hook onto it with this tool, and it literally just acts as a slide hammer. So as that's stuck in the cylinder head, you just rip this out like that, and it'll maybe 3 or 4 tugs and it'll come right out. The alternative is to get like screwdrivers and try to pry up on the body there behind this little cage, and you'll end up damaging the cage or just destroying the injector entirely. Anyways, your injector guy will laugh at you if he sees any marks, as he did with me on my first set. Anyways, the install tool also quite pivotal on a successful install. The alternative is obviously to just pound it in with a hammer or something or socket around this or something. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I've only done it with this tool, which is fairly simple. It's just a bar of steel, really, and it just slides right in like this, and it wraps around this cage here. this little loose cage is all it's sitting on, and that's where all the pressure is, which transfers onto this body down here. And all you have to do is just tap it on the end with 3 or 4 taps, and it slides right in. I lube this up with some WD-40, just eases the install a bit. But anyways, super nice little kit, fairly cheap on Amazon. Highly recommend it if you're going to be doing something like this. And yeah, anyways, this is a perfect transition for me to change up the music if I didn't like what I started playing with. Okay, so what I've done here, guys, is I've just reviewed exactly the 6 injectors I want to stick into the wagon. These are all actually the ones right from my wife's hard starting car. They all have essentially a B1 leak or good. So there's 4 B1 leaks, which is very minimal is what they've told me, and then there's 2 really good ones. The B1 leaks were much worse before is what he said, and that's the best you can get them to clean. They all flow the same, so I'm going to use these in the wagon. 2 of them here came from a junkyard motor. They have a high-pitched sound to them when they're running them on static mode, and that's the signs of a failing solenoid on the inside. I was pulling these originally, and then Sean kind of muscled his way in and ended up ripping them out of the motor, so I'm going to blame those 2 failures on him and probably just send them to Bill. And then these other 2, there's 2 from the wagon here, and then another 2 from another junkyard motor. So you can take these 6 and slime them in.
Hey guys, so that startup was obviously after a day's worth of sitting. It started up yesterday there perfectly fine once it got some fuel into it, and it started up pretty decent right now as well. So I'm going to keep tracking it, monitoring it, and get back to you guys in probably a couple weeks with an episode 3 on how the wagon's doing. Anyways, thanks for watching.